Se o silêncio dissesse tudo, sentimento bom que me leva pro outro mundo. A vontade de te ver já é maior que tudo. Não existem distâncias no meu novo mundo, tipo coisas da sétima.
All right, this is episode 85, I believe. Derek Okahashi, OG from 31fifty. It's California and Hawaii, number of states, right? Or that's the
artist formerly known as 31fifty.
The artist formerly known as 31fifty. Man, what's been up? How's it going?
Good, man. Good. Thanks for having me here. I think it's pretty cool what you just said before we started recording, that the kind of your mantra or whatever is like the positive effect of jiu-jitsu on people or society or whatever. You know, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, for me, jiu-jitsu it sounds corny because people have there's t-shirts and there's stuff. It's like jiu-jitsu saved my life, but it literally has. I mean, figuratively, I think like my own mental health has been helped along, and just emotional stability, right? It's done a lot for me health-wise, but it saved my life. Found out I have the type 1 diabetes, like my dad had it. So it's
oh, wow.
Yeah. So I found out a couple years ago, or about a year and a half ago. And, I knew I had to teach my classes. I had no energy, and I didn't know for a couple months I had it. I just had no energy. I felt like crap all the time. And if it wasn't for like me having that sense of purpose, like I have to teach my class, I have to, fake it till I make it. I have to get out there and I have to grind, and I can't show that I'm hurt, or I can't show that I'm, that I'm really not having a good time. Like these people are dependent on me to teach the class. And it's so like having that sense of purpose and that the drive to like kind of be there for the academy that's been there for me. Like, it literally saved my life, because when I finally got my blood sugar tested to see like the level just on a whim, it was like fatal high. Like
wow.
Crazy, like 600 or something. And like that, you can just stroke out and die with lower sugar than that for sure. So
you go to like ketoacidosis.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
How do you go through? I feel like I've heard that before. People go through life and find out about being a type 1 diabetic later on, but I generally associate people like knowing that from the get-go,
Yeah. And so my father had it, and a lot of the males and stuff on his side of the family, my dad's side of the family had it, but it didn't manifest with me until I'm in my 33 years old or something like that. And
wow.
Yeah, I couldn't really tell you. What I do know ahead of finding out I had diabetes, I was on the road a lot more. I wasn't eating at home. I was just a lot of road trips, a lot of flights.
Oh, that's kind of what we were talking about earlier, right?
Yeah. I thought honestly it was you hear like generic medical terms like chronic fatigue. So I thought, well, maybe it's that. Like I don't really know what that is medically, but I know that's used as like a diagnosis for certain things. And
right.
I just didn't know. I was just tired all the time, just depressed. I had to pee constantly. I was constantly thirsty. Everything started tasting bad. And I lost like 20 pounds. And I'll tell you what, man, once you start like making a note of all of those things that feel wrong, and you start Googling it, because everybody goes to WebMD first,
Google,
right?
You eventually end up with cancer if you Google something.
It was one of two things as far as like WebMD said, and I'll tell you what, you don't want to know.
Yeah.
Like because the state you're in, your blood sugar can kind of mess with your head, and just different hormones and stuff. And for me, it was just I was super depressed, and I didn't want to be around anybody. But
and jiu-jitsu,
it literally saved my life. Like it was because the things that you can do naturally to like lower your blood sugar are go to the bathroom, pee, right, or exercise.
Right.
So it's one of those things where like, oh, just rest, you'll feel better. It's like, no, get out there and move.
Right.
And it was those, the training set. And I'll tell you what, just to get on the mat and run through a warm up with my students, or just to roll a little bit, it was very, very difficult. I was already, limited in what I could do rolling wise. It's with a neck injury and that I've been, nursing for a while. And then, to boot, I was just super lethargic. So it would take, a lot of pre-workout and a lot of caffeine to just, get on the mat and do anything at all. Like I would, for example, if I wanted to go to the gym and like lift weights today, right? I would get there, and the first thing I would do is warm up on the elliptical. Is I always believe like I want my knees and like I want my blood pressure up. It's like Dan Gable said, I want to be wet before you get on the mat and start messing around. So
the core temperature is up, right?
So, but when I was feeling this way, like that, the couple months before I figured out I had diabetes, I literally I would get on the elliptical, and that was all the energy I had for like 20 minutes on the elliptical. I'd be just wiped. And that was totally not standard to how I previously, did at the gym, or how I, but having jujitsu and having the gym and just, feeling like I have to be there, like the jujitsu addiction or whatever, right? The jujitsu bug.
Did you start getting beat in training by these like professional blue belts and purple belts when your blood sugar was all messed up?
I honestly, I didn't get to roll much at all.
Yeah.
I didn't have it in me.
Teach class and stuff.
I would do the drilling and stuff, and you can get a good sweat going. I would do the drills were, the swings, and I'd have certain little bursts of brilliance, like, but in terms of being competitive and being able to really to do much at all, I just didn't have the energy for it. And, luckily I was able to, finally get out and get my sugar tested and get hooked up with doctors and endocrinologists and stuff. But
wow,
yeah, it was crazy. My first few months of knowing I had diabetes, I didn't have insurance. So I had to sort of figure that one out, which was, I'm not going to repeat the path I took, but it worked out in the end. I wound up getting, insurance after a bit, but
that's cool to hear. That's cool to hear that jiu-jitsu. I like hearing jiu-jitsu success stories, how it changes people's lives or gets someone through a hard time. I remember when I got my purple belt, like my coach, you had his wife on here before, Judy Gomez. She was with Tess.
Oh, yeah.
And, Diogo. So he would always I think I came to his academy after I'd been training a little while. So regardless of how good I was doing on the mats or who I would tap or whatever, I always promoted like one promotion after his first wave of students, and I came to understand and respect that. And but anyways, I had gone through some stuff, and my mom actually died of cancer. And I remember he used to push me. He used to push me like go, you had me right there. Like, why'd you stop? And eventually we were training, and he pushed me, and we had a couple of good training sessions, and he felt me like I was back because I had taken so many months off when my mom had cancer. And I think when he realized like, okay, he's back, he's training again, he surprised me one night with my purple, and that was like I broke down crying, because it got me through. It helped to get me through the whole, watching my mom die from cancer and all the PTSD that came with that. And yeah, jiu-jitsu was a huge part of that. It was like 2013. And and it's helped me grow, period. Teaches you humility. You get tapped out by a teenager or a girl, or some guy who you would have never imagined could tap you, or even just learning how to handle success too, right? Like you're in a big room like this, like the room we're sitting in, these big mats, you could have 100 people in here, and even if you can run through everyone, if you're a dick, then who cares? You gotta be able to handle that success too. So yeah, jiu-jitsu, it was a huge part of my mid to late 20s, early 30s, and I definitely think I know I'm a better person for having trained jiu-jitsu. But I was so obsessed that it caused me some problems in my life too. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. That's not jiu-jitsu, that's me, but I was so obsessed. Like I remember my wife saying like it was like she was with a shell of a person because I was never there. All I could talk about was jiu-jitsu. Hey, let me try this on you. And I think every like girlfriend, wife, or even husband for female jiu-jitsu practitioners, like they go through that. But I was in the peak of my obsession, and it was unless you were another jiu-jitsu person, you probably didn't like being around me because that's all. You know how it is, right? Like,
yeah.
When you're in that mode, it's like all I could talk about, think about. But for the most part, yeah, jiu-jitsu's been super positive in my life.
Yeah, the best way I can relate is that I've been training for probably 14 or 15 years, something like that now, right?
Yeah.
And the first few, some of the first few, like at least the first, probably the second year or third year through like the 10th year. So for about an 8 year stretch, I was married. I was married, and now I'm a black belt. I was married too, but now I'm a black belt. And the amount of time I put into it, and for all the good it did me, health wise, saving my life, right? I could tell you for sure that anytime that me and my ex-wife were not having a great time, we weren't getting along very well, I would train way more. I'd be on the mat 10 times a week, and I got pretty good, or even other problems in your life, even if it wasn't a relationship. It's a tremendous mechanism for avoidance and avoidance of reality, and you escape avoidance through presence, right? Because jiu-jitsu was my void fill for surfing. I grew up surfing. Surfing was my life. I boxed a little, and then when I joined the Coast Guard, ended up in California. And funny story with that too, like in Hawaii where I used to box, one of Helson's first black belts used to teach a jiu-jitsu class, and we were over there boxing, I hit the mitts, I look cool and whatever, and these guys doing jiu-jitsu, I used to think, what is that, rolling around on the ground, like I would knock them out or whatever, like young 19-year-old with stupid thoughts like that. But fast forward, a decade or something, or 6 years or something, and I find jiu-jitsu, but what were we talking about? I got distracted with the Hawaii story. I forget where I was going. You keep rolling with the Hawaii story.
With the avoidance. So anyways, long story short, like the day back to my mom having cancer, the day I found out my mom had cancer, and I don't know how I got distracted with the Hawaii thing with that, but the day I found out my mom had cancer, I went and trained jiu-jitsu, and my wife, it's kind of a little personal, but we had an argument over it because this was in, peak building 31fifty back in the day, peak obsession with jiu-jitsu, like super immersed in jiu-jitsu, right? And I don't know if it's a male thing or just something my wife didn't understand at the time because I had been so distant because I was so focused on jiu-jitsu then, but I went and trained. I went and trained with my buddy Aaron Zabalos, who congrats, Bule, by the way. He won last night, fight to win, Yeah, he did. But I went and trained, and I remember in the middle of the rolling, like we're sweating, and I told him while I was there, and he didn't know how to handle it. But the whole point I was there, the whole reason of being there is because you're so present. Like if he's trying to choke me or I'm trying to choke him, or pass his guard, that's all you can think about. It's not, for me, not quite as centering as surfing, because surfing there's this nature aspect where the waves taking you and you're like one with the wave, but it's just like you avoid reality and you're so present, like the type of presence that people want to achieve through meditation. I think you achieve in a training session because you can't be focused on anything but that, right? That's I've definitely, there's a lot of time I've been training and just having the weather helps, like the breeze. There's been perfect days where it'll be like you feel so blessed to live in California, and no matter what'll be going on in the world or my personal life, there'd be certain days where I can just kind of get in that flow state, just zone out and flow state.
I can imagine it feels a whole lot like a nice day surfing where you're just sort of in the moment. And, if there was some nature aspect, or you were doing it outdoors, would be the missing part with the surfing, But that's why so many jiu-jitsu guys surf and surfers do jiu-jitsu, There's something about the outdoor part and that the connection with with your feet on the beach when you're there, and then when you're in the water, just being in the water. Like I think there's something just like jiu-jitsu, very primal about it, but also something that I don't think enough people do often enough. And I think it has a lot to do with, I think people would be generally a lot happier and a lot healthier if they were outdoors and, in the ocean more.
Present present in nature and with another, with people. That's, jiu-jitsu and surf. That's like very much at the core, right? Like there's the problem solving, getting out your aggression, all of those things. But I think centered in those two activities, and, whether you like to hoop, play basketball, whatever, being present, being in that flow state, zoning out. I think, the lack of that is a big part of the American psychosis. And,
For sure.
I have my son just turned 5, another one's turning 1 in a month. And, basically we've been grinding for the last couple of years. Working full-time, school full-time, Coast Guard part-time. At one point I was even going to another school on top of the full-time school. And, I wasn't training, I wasn't surfing, I wasn't working out, and I was never in a flow state. And I was getting sick, kind of like what you were explaining earlier. I didn't have diabetes, I don't think, but definitely. And then when things were really bad, I either surf and or go do jiu-jitsu. My wife knows, or my my body knows, my mind knows that if I've hit bottom, like I got to do one or both of those things.
Yeah, I'm not great to be around when I can't train. So like I try to do what I can. I try to make sure to get to the academy. I try to, if something's busted on me, I try to work around it as much as I can. And it's just it takes the edge off, and sort of kind of whatever nonsense you're worried about from. And I'm not trying to say anything's not important. Just it's really easy to get over emotional, or like just it's easy to freak out and not be able to see things for what they are, because you're just there's so much. The world's heavy these days, there's so many people, and there's so much pressure and competition, and I think things like family and it's something people talk about a lot, but it's just like with social media, all you see is like, to them, family is just like putting a picture online and hashtagging family, but like the time being spent is I don't think it's as much. So like just being able to have something like jiu-jitsu or surfing where you can go and just clear your head and be like, wait, what's important? Like, where do I need to be right now? And okay, but just to be able to clear the energy, any bad energy, any built up energy, like I feel like you need that release. And I think the closer you can get to like more primal sort of like activities, and I think jiu-jitsu, like if you look at all throughout the animal kingdom, all the other mammals, like you see gorillas,
they grapple, right?
Yeah, like it's healthy. It's like the oldest sport.
Even just dogs, they roll on their back, the other one jumps up, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never thought of that.
And then surfing, I mean, you're just out there floating around in the waves, and I mean, you look at dolphins, they play around in the water too. They look pretty stoked.
Yeah.
I haven't seen many pissed dolphins. Like someone could send me a link, but
they look, well, they do. They're are they the only mammal that has sex for pleasure?
The dolphins, I could see that, because they have there's those rapey dolphins,
and then they like rape. Yeah, they're pretty.
Yeah, there's some creepy dolphins. Okay,
You said, how do you do with? That's one thing. That's where I'm at with jiu-jitsu right now. Like I don't train that much right now. I was thinking about going to One World on the way home from here, but I don't train a lot, and the reason being is the injuries. Like I've had 2 knee surgeries. You saw me grimacing earlier because we were sitting here. I can't. I have a torn LCL and torn meniscus again. Oh. So I'm due for my 3rd surgery at some point, depending on how. What performance level I want. Like right now I just kind of work out a little and I can get by, but if I start training a lot, or I'm working towards this strong first kettlebell certification, and I'm 34 now. I've had these surgeries, my knee's screwed up right now. Like, do you tell it? I mean, only I can decide, right? But do you tell me as a friend, like, you got to keep training, like just train, it's worth it? Because like I'm gonna have my first knee replacement probably in my early 50s or something at this point.
I think figuring out a strategy to like when, how much, and like what's really the path forward. Like
just do it smarter.
Yeah, like what can you do differently? Like what has brought you to the point of having surgery? I think like finding
the last one was rolling with a spastic white belt, and I should have.
Yeah.
For one, when you're in we made the shirt, white belts are people too, right? So no disrespect. I love everyone who trains jiu-jitsu, but when this black belt told me, he's like, when you roll with a white belt, if you don't know them, you got to smash them. You have to go hard, because if you give them room, sometimes that's when you're going to get injured. You're not going to get injured with the black belt, right? Or less likely.
No.
And so this was with a spastic white belt who I actually knew him, and I knew better than to let up at all. And anyways, yeah, I felt my knee pop in a couple places. And
yeah, I had a similar. I didn't get hurt, but a couple nights ago we had someone come in from another academy, and he claimed to have experience. It was no gi, so you don't know the belt level. And
right.
The guy was he was fit, and he was a little bigger than me, so I'd say I don't know what, like weight wise, he was 200 pounds for sure, but I think he was like 6'3". So I wanted to make sure, and we were doing mount escape drills, and I was all right, and I'm looking around the room, and we had like maybe one other black belt there, but he was paired up with somebody else that was new, and I'm like, all right, well, I'd rather just feel him out first. Just I don't want to. I don't know. It could be anything. And
you don't want to put him with someone.
And somebody gets hurt.
Yeah.
We're doing the mount escape drill, and I'm like, this guy's kind of. I'm feeling fingernails, and like he's like trying to like really bench press me off, and like I felt myself. I'm like, did he just hit me? And like the second time, he's like grabbing at my face and trying to like fish hook me.
Wow.
And I'm all right. Now I'm gonna have to lay it in, because I was just trying to let him work and do his thing. I was literally teaching guard retention and mount to technical mount or mount retention. I'm so sorry. And the whole drill was just keeping mount. It wasn't meant to be a smash thing, but this guy is he's got an attitude, and he's trying to fight me at this point. And I'm like, I'm trying to talk to him, and
he needs jiu-jitsu more than anyone, right?
Oh, totally. And I tried to talk to him, and he's just a general weird attitude. And I'm trying. All right, I got to take a breath, because I was noticing like I was getting kind of annoyed, and I'm like,
I think it's an awkward thing, right? Because you're in a group setting, but I think instructors need to. I shouldn't say instructors need to do anything, but instructors should definitely be able to just excuse someone and put them on the side, remove them from your class.
Or
like, how do you feel about that? Because like I'll teach class sometimes to fill in, but like I'm not a jiu-jitsu instructor, but
the situations can vary. Obviously, there's a lot of room for misunderstandings. Like, you don't know how long somebody was stuck in traffic, or if they're in the middle of something horrible. Like, we're not always our best self. We're lots of things. Me hungry, and me first waking up in the morning, or being woken up when I'm not trying to be woken up. It's like that's not the same person as me. Holding the door for a stranger, or like,
but those guys. There's two people who stand out. So one time when I was actually teaching the class, I think I was a blue belt or something on the Coast Guard base in Alameda, and this guy had come up, and he was really weird. Like, he just sat on the side. He might even came a day before and watched, and he sat on the side, and I was like, hey man, you want to jump in or whatever? And he was very much like, yeah, I train, I got experience, blah blah. And he was actually my old boss. Who used to train on base, and his son trained at Half's and Dublin, and he was going crazy, stacking my boss, and I could tell he didn't train. He didn't have the experience that he implied, or he wouldn't act like, he wouldn't behave like that and roll like that. And so I went with, I smashed him, right, like armbar, choke, armbar, and he's like, "How long have you been training?" And I was like, a year, 2 years with injuries. I don't know, whatever it was just like, it wasn't that long, right? And he was like, that's bullshit, And someone like that, like, I would not let him roll with anyone else except for me, because he was just too dangerous. He was big too. This guy was like 230, 240, army dude, like real. I almost feel like that level of ego borderlines on like on mental mental health issue, right?
It can be, and that's where I really try to kind of look at the situation, and for this guy, I wanted to make sure I didn't want to just have him roll with the students, just to anyone else. I don't want anybody to get hurt. I don't know this person yet.
Yeah,
like. The beautiful thing about jiu-jitsu is we have this implicit and very much like explicit trust, right? You can go real hard, you can roll, you can do all this great technique, where if you were to use it full bore in a self-defense situation, you can incapacitate, hurt, maybe even kill somebody, but you can use it to save your life. But we have a safe word. We have the tap, and the tap is respected. And you don't go out of your way to do things to hurt your training partners. I don't just say the jiu-jitsu is like family, or like it's a trust thing. Like, these people have all been to my house. Like, all my students, we watch the fights together. They've all been to my home. Like, so for someone to come in and to challenge that. The safety of any of them. And, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. That's why I was like, all right, I'll put myself out in front. I'll see what it is. And, worst comes to worst, I know I can defend myself just fine.
Right.
But
it probably didn't take you very long to realize like who that person was, right? Like in terms of their ego, their personality, have you seen Avatar?
The blue
the
people?
blue, like the blue people. I remember I told my friend Nick Mays, and he's like a developmental psychologist or something. Like, smart guy. You know Nick?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Nick's solid. And I remember telling him, I was like, when you slap hands like that, fist bump, and you're gonna train. To me, that's like on Avatar where they stick their tail and they like attach tails.
Oh,
you remember that part? And then you like sync brains.
Yep.
I feel like I can get to know a ton about someone when we train. When we slap hands, fist bump, and start rolling, I know if I like them or not, if they like me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. It does. There's
I can tell if they want to kill me, if they're a faker. It's an interesting thing. That's a bond right there.
Well, this is the last honest gig. It's the last honest profession. It's like the one honest job, because you're
no hiding, right?
No, your place in the pack, or in the what do we call it, the lions or pride, your place in that in the pack or the pride or the community is based on output. It's based on performance. It's based on how you treat others. It's based on many things that it's money can't buy those things. Right. Status, like, you can't just, he's the guy with the fancy gi, so is he good? Do you want to roll with him? Does he have weird behavioral stuff? Is he dangerous? Is he spazzy? A lot of that stuff's correctable. Like, people grow over time, and
that's what I mean. I remember the first guy I started training with. First guy I started training with was a Coast Guard commander and trained at House. He really laid my foundation. But this other academy that I went to first, I was a spastic white belt. I remember him teaching me, like, he was turtling, and I had to stick my knee between, and over his hip and slide down his thigh to like hip to hip in the turtle position. And he was like, don't knee me, because I kind of need his ribs. I was a spastic white belt too, but like,
we all were.
for one, I was younger. Two, I just didn't have the technique. Like, I didn't want to kill him, or didn't pretend to think that I could ever beat him up or anything. But yeah, that's part of the jiu-jitsu, what it can do for you, right?
Yeah, well, when you start doing jiu-jitsu, you don't really know what it is. You don't know what we're doing. Right. Nobody does. You just you come in and you're the nail for a very long time, and the first thing you want is, especially as a younger person, is to be the hammer, is to start winning.
Right.
It's all about winning and losing in the gym, when you first start. And even though you're told on day one, this is a learning environment, and you're not going to be the world champion of the gym. If you tap everybody, that's that day, and with those people. But there's there's tomorrow, and there's no one's being paid. You don't get a sandwich or money just to get a hold of someone's neck and start cranking. So
I mean, even black belts, for the most part. I mean, even people who've been in this in this growth process for a long time, like, they still want to win. People don't.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've had conversations, you know, black belts and like people. I mean, he kind of passed my guard, but I mean, you know, I was like, I don't want to hit the guy. People don't like losing, you know. People have a hard time accepting if someone.
Mortality's a bitch, man. Getting old's a bitch, and you know, getting passed up, and you know, the younger guys coming, and you see how good the blue belt world champions are now. They're like 19 years old.
They're pro athletes.
They are.
When did that happen? So like, when did you start training jiu-jitsu?
05.
So I started at the end of 09, and back then you could have your day job, train really serious at your, you know, Bay Area, California, or East Coast or whatever. And, you know, if your job lets you do some strength and conditioning at lunch, then like you're like a legit, you know, medal at Pans kind of guy. But now,
yeah, okay.
I feel like
now.
2000, like as I was coming in 2009, 2010, like that's when that game was changing. Like blue belts started to become, you know, like serious athletes. It wasn't just like that whole like there's weight divisions and classes, masters and adults, all that exists for a reason, you know. Like it's not just you come off the streets and compete at Pans anymore. I don't know if it was ever quite like that, but definitely people had jobs and different, you know what I mean? It was different.
You had a better chance. But let's like go back about 10 years to some economic growth in Brazil, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they're a big player. It's not just, you know, you were talking about like the BRIC countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, right? These are the emerging markets. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, we got all the sugar cane. Let's make ethanol out of it. Let's do that. And so all of a sudden Brazil's, you know, booming business, like, and there's a bigger gap in like very wealthy and very much not wealthy. But bottom line is Brazil had more money. Brazilians had more money. If you look at the way Brazilian families work, right? They stick together. They love the shit out of being Brazilian. They love the shit out of their family. Yeah. Drama aside, you know, you know, they are very they're very
a lot
family
of pride, right?
Very a lot of pride, but like they're very family oriented. They're very tight.
Yeah.
So here's the thing: if you were a male in a Brazilian family, you know, mom, dad, brother, sister, whatever. Let's say like the Brazilian dream, American dream, whatever you want to call it, right? You're gonna go and you're gonna go to school and all this stuff. Here, you turn 18 years old, and if you're from Connecticut, you're in Calgary, or you know, if you're in one place, you're in Chicago, you're in LA. Like people are nomadic in the United States. Like we ditch and go off on our own, right?
Right.
And it's
right.
like I did, right? I'm from New Jersey. I live in Sunnyvale. You know, my mom and you know they live in Nevada. I got a brother in New Jersey, cousins all. You know what I'm saying? Like we're all over the place. But Brazilian families, like it's not how it is. They don't move out until they get married a lot of times, and you know what I mean. It's still very family oriented. So what does that do? It affords these Brazilian athletes the ability to live at home and train full time.
Yeah,
because they can go home, they eat well, you know, everything's all good. They all stick together. Everybody chips in, you know.
But I feel like the game was changed. Like you know, like Benji, like it's a Bay Area people, like Benji Silva,
he's
Kaniala.
He's a professional athlete. So
Kaniala used to, because we both lived in Alameda. They'd be up at 4 something in the morning, strength and conditioning, and then he would train a couple of times a day. Like you know, his dad played for the Raiders. They have a pretty. They have an interesting and proud Hawaiian family, you know. I'm a big fan of Kaniala, by the way. But you know, I remember his dad like, hey, can you help teach him some of your stuff, whatever, and I help him. And at a certain point, I was like, this kid is even like I feel like it wasn't just Brazilians, I guess is what.
No, it absolutely
Michael
wasn't.
Vieira, like these guys they're not just like casual jiu-jitsu people in the late 2000s.
No, so if you have all these guys coming up from Brazil now and they're winning everything, so what happens now? The brands are like, hey, this is a thing. You start to see more brands come up. So you have more athletes that are Americans that are from here that are able to, okay, well, if I got to be competitive, I got to do it full time. I got to get homeschooled if I'm a younger kid,
right? And
then I'm just going to do this, like, and then with more brands coming out, more companies coming up from Brazil, and you know, being started up in the United States. You have Guam, you know, entering the mix with, you know, you got Fokai, you have Show Your Rolls, you have you guys, you have the Want versus Need, you have Kukui, and this is just the companies that are up and down the block, you know?
Yeah.
So there's so many big companies that are putting money in. You have mainstream backing now. It's like when Nike got into the skateboarding game, all of a sudden Ruka which is what Billabong, they're doing jiu-jitsu. They're sponsoring, Marcus Almeida, like Buchecha.
Right, Buchecha, Mendez Brothers.
Yeah. So,
which is actually where we met, right? In this academy, Mendez Brothers.
Yeah, I met you, Judy, Tess, all here at the Mendez Brothers seminar.
Man, Hoffa makes you feel like you're like, I don't know about you. I can't speak for you, but like Hoffa makes me feel incredibly incompetent.
Yeah, he's one of the guys that you first realize, wow, there's definitely levels to this.
There's levels to this.
I remember the first time I saw like Tess, because there's a lot of people here for that seminar. It was very packed.
Yeah.
But she was going with either Guy or Hoffa, and just from standing, like I don't know how seriously he was taking her at the time, because she was a blue or purple belt, maybe blue, and she like pulled De La Hiva guard from standing and like swept him to his butt real quick. Just went right at him. I'm like, what was that?
Yeah. So Tess and Judy are like these, fun, pretty little jiu-jitsu girls, but so Judy and Diogo are good friends of ours, and we lived down the street from each other. Came up in their academy, and so I get sessions in with Judy and Tess on the weekends, and they're little killers.
Yeah.
You talk about ego. I've brought a couple of friends to the academy. I remember one, my friend's his back's to me, and he's like, yeah, I trained and whatever. And I look at Judy and I do this thing. If you're just listening, it's like the slicing of your neck, like kill him. And Judy just gives me the nod, like, got it. Like, as if you had to tell her.
Oh, man.
And so she gets to his back, chokes him, and he's doesn't want to tap. I start seeing his eyes roll back, and then he finally taps. And, that's you're either going to come back or you're going to quit, right? Like, you're either going to...
Oh, yeah.
You're either going to say, I want to look behind that curtain into the deeper side of me and see and learn more about that and unpack that, or you're just going to be like, jiu-jitsu is not that cool anyways.
Yeah, we have we have just an open mat you're talking about at One World. It's like the cheap plug, but it's also an invitation. It's free.
It's 31fifty, my open mat unit. Have you been? Like, you came to the events, right? We used to do the 31fifty open mats at One World with Mike. Like, I think they actually grew, not to take any credit, because One World's one of the coolest academies in the world, but they grew a lot after we started collabing on those events. And that's got to be one of the most OG, coolest open mats in the country, I think.
Yeah, I remember the early ones. That was like 10 years ago, the ones you were doing. So we've actually have people come from all over. The guy from the BJJ Globetrotter, Christian.
Oh yeah.
He rolled through One World. We had these two guys. So one of the black belts came up from, I think, Sao Paulo. Gustavo. He's a black belt over there at Sorao Academy. He owns adamantium kimonos.
He owns what?
Adamantium, like Wolverine's claw. Like, it's called adamantium kimonos.
I'm kind of out of the game, so I'm not too sure.
They were a thing in Brazil, and he just came up here. Cool guy, right? Yeah. He goes, hey, do you want to introduce you to these guys? They came here from Brazil. I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, it's jiu-jitsu. Like, it's Brazil. Like, of course. I train in Brazil, like, every year. So that's for me. I'm like, I love Brazil, but like, I've seen that. Yeah, so I'm like, cool. Nice to meet you. I was, being really nice. It's nice to meet your friends. He goes, no. In the car. Like, they're in the car. I don't understand. No, they drove here from Rio. Oh. They drove to freaking One World for the open mat.
No way.
Yeah, this is.
Wow.
I couldn't make this up. So, and they documented all of it on Facebook. I'm gonna probably try to get them on here at some point.
That must have been before they built the wall.
Oh, oh man, they drove from Rio de Janeiro in a Volkswagen Beetle, because they were still making the OG ones until like 5 years ago in Brazil.
Oh yeah,
yeah, like the ones from 1969. You can still buy a brand new one up till like 5 years ago in Brazil.
Really?
Yeah, in Mexico too.
Huh.
So they drove here in that with the goal of going up through Canada and selling it in Alaska, right? So I've seen like gasoline and gears or something where like they took an Evo and a Subaru that was modified. It was like a Forester with an STI engine.
Yeah.
So like, I can get into that. I drive an Evo. Like I do not have an age appropriate car at all.
How did they know? Back then was like how did they know about the open mat? Just through the Brazilian grapevine?
I have no idea. You know, they could have maybe just looked at the places they mentioned on Globetrotter. I know I post about it a lot. There's probably been we've had plenty of like, you know, world champion level people come through there just to say hi for a cup of coffee. You know what I mean? Just to come roll one night. But you have Christina Barlan that's always there, and she has a following.
Right.
You know, Tess is like that same level. They're both like that pan champion. Well, actually, Christina's a world champion now. Finally, you know,
she won worlds.
She won Masters Worlds.
Oh, right on. That matters.
I still think
Congrats,
Worlds
Christina.
is winnable for her.
Yeah,
she won her match last night. A fight to win. Just
who did she?
No disrespect. There were like 30 something
right.
matches. It was too long of a night, and
right. Yeah, Aaron didn't go till like 11 or something, right?
Dude,
I was texting his wife like, hey, let me know how it goes. It was, you know, but
it's late, man. I've done color commentary for those guys before, and Seth and Missy, like that whole crew, they don't sleep. They call themselves Team No Sleep at Fight to Win because they just hustle. They keep going, and promoting fights isn't easy. It's
yeah. I was actually, you know, I kind of think I have a little different perspective because I've, you know, hosted events and had a jiu-jitsu brand before and stuff, and seeing their output is, I know there's got to be a lot of work.
Staggering.
Yeah.
So they had a cancellation or something for one of the San Jose events, and they're like, I had like a 2 hours notice to dummy up and get down. They're like, hey, can you help us out and just can you come do commentary? And I'm like, yeah, of course.
That's perfect for you.
Yeah. Then at the end of it, so
did you do commentary last night?
No. Oh. It was they had the regular team back, which is great.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: we didn't have a break in between the matches, so it was 5 hours straight, and I had to pee.
You peeing in a Gatorade bottle or something?
Dude, the cameras on us, you couldn't do anything. So I, by the time it was over and they were clearing out the building, I had to pee so bad I couldn't.
Yeah.
So I'm like, could somebody get one of those sharp straws and just like poke my bladder and like just catheter me? It was
some David Goggins stuff.
Anything, but yeah, man, it's you know, I don't envy the level of work, but I definitely you know, admire the hustle, and they treated me really good. It was fun. It was me and Sergio Silva, so we got a good roll at it. But yeah, and then at the end of it, they paid me. I'm like, wait, what? I'm not used.
That's cool.
Yeah, like I don't get paid for jiu-jitsu that much.
Jiu-jitsu and talk about jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, we're doing that for a minute now. So somebody handed me a check up front. Like I don't get many of those. I mean, obviously for teaching and stuff, but
who's the like? Who are some of the? Because you've traveled around. Like I've been to different academies in the country, and you know, some stand out for different reasons and whatever. Who's like? What are some of the academies or even people you've rolled with that stand out? I always think those stories are interesting. You know, all positives, you know, like people who are super good. Outside, you know, obviously like AOJ is immaculate and beautiful, and there's some killers there. Like Studio 540, super cool, right? But what about some other like academies?
So the 10th Planet guys, like the 10th Planet guys at the headquarters in LA.
Yeah.
Eddie, all those guys, like they're really good. They have some really good guys there. Eduardo Tellis is a lot of fun to roll with. He's a very unique style. There's like a rhythm to it.
Yeah,
it'll be like very flowy, and then all of a sudden it's like just the wave crashes at you, like, and you're on your head, like what happened. Richie Martinez, Boogeyman. You don't realize how strong / how good he is.
I don't know who that is actually.
10th Planet Freaks. He tapped Sakuraba recently at that quintet. Yeah, he looks like kind of, you know, like crazy. He has like the big you know, the gauged out ears and this crazy looking beard and tattoos everywhere. If you ever listen to Joe Rogan Experience,
is he on there?
Whenever Eddie Bravo's on there, he's always talking about Boogie and Freakazoid. They were like pro break dancers like Christina back in the day.
Dude,
but they're just
break. I had this break dancer guy in my X-ray school, and I was always like, dude, you gotta train. You'd be so good. You'd be so good at jiu-jitsu. But he was just like, nah. Every
single one that does it, that I know, Christina Barlan, like right there, Masters World Champion, and just a monster on the mat, like just good.
Nick Green's,
he just won last night.
The way he moves for his body type, you know, like he.
How strong is that guy?
And then how
damn strong is that guy, right? And just very creative. Like he moves very, very well.
Yeah.
and then obviously like the Freak brother or whatever it's the 10th Planet Freaks. Like so first
so that one stands out.
Both of them are badass. Richie's a current EBI like the combat jiu-jitsu champion.
Oh yeah.
I was out there and when he won that, and it was pretty cool to. He's just like, you see him from far away, and I think like some people might not know like how cool of a guy he is, like how nice of a guy he is. Like if you don't like, you're not into tattoos or maybe not into that like lifestyle stuff, you wouldn't realize it. But then like you hang out with him and spend some time with him, he's like probably one of the nicest dudes. Like him and his girl are like just coolest couple. They're all like going to Disney and stuff. Like just super chill people. But on the mat, he's a monster. Like I rolled with Eduardo Tellez like earlier in the day, and I did a podcast there, and then I did one with Richie with Boogeyman at night. And Eduardo Tellez is like,
Tellez would be a weird interesting style to roll with, right?
Yeah, it was.
I'm sure he can just do regular like traditional style jiu-jitsu and probably smash most people too, right? But but his game is just different.
Well, he's like one of the guys from like TT back in the day, like that whole crew in Brazil where it was like legends upon legends, just all there was like one of Terre's original guys, and Leo Vieira I think was there, whole thing. But he'd go in there like tired. And it sounds like a cop out, and it's not. Full energy. Like Richie Martinez is world class and is a monster on the mat. And the cool thing about the 10th Planet system is it's so deliberately like elaborate. There's an organization to the techniques and to how it all fits together. And they have some move names that are kind of non-traditional, but
I like that.
It's and you got to memorize them. But
is that part of your like promotion? Like you got to know the pathways, like the algorithm, and then
I don't know
the scorpion slicer and the dagger.
I can tell you like both instructors. Like if you go to one of Eddie Bravo's classes, it's like a performance art, man. The dude's so charismatic. Like he did. I was at one of his evening classes in downtown LA. And he was like, I think the class started at 8:30 or 8 at night, and he was still teaching until well into 10 o'clock, like actively participating. And some instructors, you're not going to get that. You're not going to get that type of attention. And that guy, I spent half an hour just talking to him, just having a conversation, not for a podcast or for the class, just human beings interacting. He was super cool. It was a really great experience. It was one of the people I was really happy to meet.
I was gonna say I actually like that they've named stuff. I know Brazilians don't like naming stuff, right? Like, oh, this is the this. Like even Diogo, who's younger or whatever. Like, oh, that's the this, and like, you guys with your names, that's just we've been doing that in Rio for the last 20 years. Like, don't try and call it something.
I even get annoyed when someone tells me the name of something. I'm like, I learned that like over a decade ago.
Yeah.
It was like it wasn't called that.
But I'm like, if you're coaching me and I'm mid match, you say, do the thing. Like if you had a name for it, it would work, right? It's logical.
It is, and I think it's not just being Brazilian, or I think it's just you get
just
old.
Old school.
Yeah, you just get old. I do the same thing, and I know a lot of the catch wrestling guys like Eric Paulson and those guys, or Josh Barnett, for example. When you call something by its Brazilian jiu-jitsu, or if it's a 10th Planet movie, like 10th Planet name, they're gonna roll their eyes and be like, no, there's not a Kimura. There's no such thing. It's a double wrist lock and shoulder crank.
Yeah.
They're like that. And, but there's like 1,000 varieties of every move. So having the naming scheme, whether you like or are fond of some of the names or not, it's really just a preference thing. But it is a sensible thing to have. There's so many little fine-tuned details about everything. It's good to have a naming system. But
I think YouTube kind of changed the game too, right? Where you're talking, like, just in this conversation, it kind of reminded me of that. I remember back in the day, like 2009, when I started training, it was very much still like, don't show anybody this. I remember the first place I trained, like, I don't want to, academy I was at, I don't want to name names, right? But they had this one, and like say you're trying to escape a single leg and the person's like grabbing onto the back of your hamstring, and you can like, you grab their sleeve, do a front roll in an omoplata.
Yeah, the flying omoplata from the single. Yeah.
And it was like, don't show anybody. This is art. This is like proprietary, you know. And I remember I had a conversation of like, oh, I was training on the Coast Guard base, and I did this at lunch today. And they were like, you did what? You can't be showing people that. Where's that guy from? I was like, oh, he's from House. I was like, no, don't show it. Like, but now, you know, fast forward a couple of years, and it's like, well, it's all on YouTube anyway.
It is.
You know, well, not all, you know, like at least after this tournament season, it's all on YouTube, right? Like,
yeah.
But
if you want to see every variety of everything, just go get a Flow Grappling membership and spend some time, because they have all the content, man. They're smart. They wind up owning like distribution, like content rights. Like it's theirs after the event's over.
Yeah.
And not just that one. If you want to see some real good technique that you might not see translated over yet, Flow Wrestling, you know, all the amateur wrestling content they have. So the next stars, like I'm pretty sure there's recruiters watching that thing all day, every day, trying to find, well, maybe this guy is going to make it. Maybe this guy, let's bring him up. You know, the people that are going to be future Olympians or UFC champions, they're on that damn channel now, man.
Right.
It's like the college recruiters are probably staring at that thing like trying to just hungry, trying to find the next guy.
And you talk about the progression of like full-time athletes. A lot of, at least in America, a lot of the high-level jiu-jitsu kids are also wrestling during wrestling season. And
better be.
It's, you know.
It better be.
It wasn't like that before, you know.
Well, none of it was. There was no damn money in it.
We sound old, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't like that before.
No, it's cool. It's like, because even with MMA, just seeing the progression of it from, you know, the first UFC I watched on TV to like, you know, knowing a lot of these guys and just seeing how, you know, events are, you know, put together, and, you know, how much time it takes, and, you know, all the work and all the sacrifice and everything. And, you know, every couple of years you see a generation has passed in these sports, and, the athletes coming up now are genetically better. They're more, you know, better educated in terms of nutrition and sports science and all this stuff. It's a different animal.
I remember, you know, Manny Diaz.
Yeah.
He was he had just gotten his brown, which for him was like super quick. He's probably got his brown in like 3.5 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say like 4 years.
4 years or something. But he rolled with this other guy I know who was a older generation of, not that old. I mean, he won like masters at Pans in like 07, 08 or something. You know, it was like a good jiu-jitsu guy. And Manny trained with him, and he tapped him like 2 or 3 times. And this was at my open mat, and like we were thinking about sponsoring Manny at the time, whatever. And man, he just shit on this guy, right? And that guy was like my coach back like on the Coast Guard base before. And I was like, wow, there's levels. There's new levels to this, right? Because this guy was a Pan champion a few years back, and here comes Manny.
Manny came.
He's one of those few people we're talking. He could still work his job and go compete at a very, very, very high level.
Yeah, he's a special talent.
Have you rolled with him?
No, I didn't get to. I know he was training in San Jose. And then he wound up taking a job with what was it, Gameness in Texas or something?
Yeah, I think so.
It was one of those brands.
Aaron was telling me, I'm closer with Aaron, but you know, they're really good friends, and he was telling me about that.
Was he? He was a Kyotera guy, and
he trained with Kyle for a while, and then
he was wasn't he like a pro golfer, something like that?
Yeah. So Manny was teaching me how to golf one time, and this guy came over and walked behind us, and kind of, you know how they like stand with like their golf club as a cane, and he's like watching, and he's trying to test out if Manny's full of shit, you know, and because he seemed like trying to teach me how to swing, and he kind of had an unorthodox way of showing me, right? So the guy, he's kind of watching, and then I don't know if he asked or if he just looked. He's like, he goes, you know how I can tell your friend knows what he's talking about? And he's like, look at his golf club. The wear point is like the size of a dime. He hits all of his balls in the exact same spot. Wow. And I don't know anything about golf, right? But yeah, he got his like PGA Pro card like within 3 years of golfing in his third year or something. Yeah. Which, and I don't know a lot about golf, but I think that's probably a pretty hard thing to do.
Yeah, well, but it's.
I think he did really good at soccer too. Like after high school, he was like
Of course, he did.
pro-am or something like that.
It's like the BJ Penn of golf. 3 years, 4 years. He's like already like in.
He probably would have been the BJ Penn of jiu-jitsu if he started it earlier.
Yeah, he got into it a little. Like he was already in his 30s by the time he got to his black belt, right?
I think so.
Something like that.
Something like that. But yeah, he's a guy that can work his job and do whatever and still compete pretty. He had a cool story about, I don't know, Joao or Paulo Miao, but he went to Copa Podio and he fought one of the Miao brothers, and he was like, the Miao was like going to his back, and so Manny goes to the knee bar, and he's got, he's a unique, specimen in terms of strength or whatever. And he had trained for that match and stuff, for that tournament. And he said he heard Joao, I think it was Joao, his knee popping as Joao's like doing this and like getting to his back, and he heard his knee like pop, pop, pop. And later they went and had dinner. I hope I'm not messing this story up, maybe Manny will hear, but they went and had dinner, and he was asking through Leandro, he's like, I think he was translating or something. He's like, why didn't you tap? Or like, is your knee all right? And he's like, yeah, no, it popped a few times, but I don't I don't tap. So it's not something that I do. Yeah. Different people, different human beings. He just said tapping's not in his DNA.
I owe everyone a nice cold beverage for having this. I thought I silenced my phone, but I got one of these watch things now that's supposed to tell me if my heart's gonna break.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know. I got an Apple Watch because I don't know. I just don't have a watch, so I figured this would be a good thing to do. And
I'm too cheap.
Yeah.
You see, my phone's like, the camera doesn't work, the screen's broken. If I do get a new screen, I change it.
I tend to break the screens. I found like, what is it called? That liquid screen protector that you get it put on at one of these phone repair places, and I think it was $40. But if your screen breaks, like
warranted or something.
Yeah, they replace the whole screen.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, so and you just have to do it once a year. So I went there and I just do that, and I try to do it with this phone, but they don't support it. They don't have the contract for it yet. So I just got one of these stupid looking screen protectors, like the glass ones that they break so much faster than your screen anyway, and they look like crap. But
maybe when I get a new phone, I'll do that. Yeah. Hey, you said you were like you're friends with Robert Drysdale. Have you rolled with him?
Yeah. It's cool because he's bigger than me. He's stronger. He's faster. He's way better at jiu-jitsu. So
yeah, I mean if it weren't for Hodger, he'd be a world champion, right? Like, Robert Drysdale never got his world's championship, I don't think, because he kept meeting Hodger. Is that so? Do I remember that correctly?
I don't know. I know for sure he's won 80 cc's.
Yeah.
So he won 80 cc's by catching Marcelo Garcia in a darce. Like he strangled, one of like the legends ever, and he's had a lot of success in various tournaments, like whether he's won worlds here, worlds there. He's won a lot, and then for me, to me, 80 cc is kind of worlds.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Because it's the only one you have to qualify for. Because I know
you can make an argument that it's more prestigious. The
qualifiers are intense.
Yeah.
It's sort of the best of the best, and so at that stage, in those years, there wasn't like points in IBJJF. Like the standings were kind of loose. Versus with 80 cc, you had to qualify and you had to go out there in front of the royal family and perform. And
right.
And and then Marcelo, regardless of what federation it was, if you're facing him, that's a world. That's the world. That's worlds. I promise.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And to have a submission victory over him like that sort of stage is like.
There's a story. Pretty sure there's a story where Robert Drysdale talks about Hodger being the strongest person he's ever rolled against. I think Hodger ripped Robert Drysdale's gi, like his lapel.
Damn.
I think he ripped it. And he tells a story about how when that happened, he was just like, what is this?
Yeah.
You know,
Robert's a very, very strong individual, and he's got, you know,
he's a cool guy too. I like him.
Super cool. Cool.
He had a magazine, like a 2-page spread where he was wearing a 31fifty shirt. I don't know if you ever seen that, but he just happened to have it on because, you know, there were a lot of guys from Hawaii and Guam and stuff at that academy back in, you know, probably still now, you know, there's a lot of those guys, but I used to go there like 2010, 11, and you know, a bunch of them had shirts on. So I guess one of the guys gave him a shirt, and the camera crew came in on a day where he was wearing it. So people were all hitting me up like, "You see Drysdale wearing 31fifty? Oh, you guys got Drysdale?" I was like, no, I don't have Drysdale. But
that's cool.
That's super cool that he wore the shirt in the magazine. You know,
it's dope. It's always it's cool, and it sounds lame. It's cool when people are cool. It just rocks it just to rock it. And he's got a lot of students. Just you know, the whole Zenith. Did I say it right? Zenith team.
Zenith, no, yeah.
Yeah, they're. I mean, they're all over Brazil. There's a bunch of gyms. The one in Vegas is a big gym.
It's a big space, yeah. Is it bigger than this?
Oh yeah. Well, there's two mat spaces about the size.
Oh, okay.
And then he's got like.
They may even be in a new one. I haven't been at that academy since like 2000.
There's like a shoe palace across the street or something, and it's by.
Vegas all looks the same to me. Like it's very much a grid of like strip malls and.
It's literally a strip mall with
yeah.
I think there's like a furniture store next door or something like that.
But in terms of jiu-jitsu, cool place, right? Like
very cool.
Super, you know, I guess because of the MMA scene or whatever. But
oh yeah, there's
Sonny Nohara is a friend of mine.
Oh, cool.
Cool academy.
Isn't that Sono?
Sono, yeah.
I've dropped in there before with my buddy Shane was in town from. I guess he moved to Portland. So he's from Maui, and he's a one world black belt as well now with him and Andy Hung are the. Yeah,
Andy, yeah.
Two of our one world black belts up in Portland, man.
Right on.
Yeah, so
Andy's doing cool. Like Dojo Outfitters is a cool thing.
Oh, they're killing it, man.
Props to Andy, Pro City, represent.
Oh yeah, man. Andy and Lou are awesome, man. Their YouTube thing's funny, man. They're killing it. Like what's it called? It's on YouTube. It's on the Dojo Outfitters channel. It's like something the game. I have the sticker of the exact like thing it's called, but just look up Dojo Outfitters. Andy Hung. He was
Andy and Jake both were at San Jose State for judo. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Which is like the school for judo, right?
It is. So I'm sure a lot of judo players know this, but in terms of the school that brought judo to the United States, it's San Jose State. What is it? Yoshihiro Ushida Hall is like the main PE building in San Jose State, or it was like when I was at San Jose State for a minute. And that's the judo program over there that really brought judo to the United States. So Andy was there, Jacob Bell,
sneaky little. I shouldn't call him little because he, you know. He tapped me.
Anytime you try to get head control on Jacob Bell, he's right there with that inside arm bar. He'll try to like snap your elbow or shoulder, whatever's closer.
He caught me with that. So his wife with that. I went to school with his wife in Hawaii. Like
she cooks so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jazzy, what's up? You holding out? I never got any of that cooking.
Yeah, they had like a potluck kind of Thanksgiving thing one time at Shane's house. Like and I don't know if
what'd she make.
Okay, this is like non-islander trying to describe it, but let me try this. It was like a halpia thing on the top, but it had like almost like this crumbly purple pie crust type deal to it. I don't know how to describe it.
Kulolo? I don't know.
It was whatever it was dope. Right. It had like a purple tint to it, so I wonder if it was like those like purple like sweet potatoes or something. Like
was it sweet potato?
It might have.
Poi?
No,
because taro was purple.
Yeah, again, it was
right on Hawaiian and even Chamorro food is like
we
mix those two. It's over.
We have a couple folks here from Saipan, so I bought a grill just so like he could show me how to do some like marinades and stuff like that. So I've like plagiarized my friend Jose's recipes.
Right on
all the different all the different types of marinades for meat and chicken and stuff and.
Yeah. So Jay, like, I knew we knew each other in high school, and Jake and I had met and shake hands, and both from Hawaii, so that's cool, whatever. And then years later, I finally roll with him, and I should have known, like, San Jose State judo black belt, one world black belt, like. But we start off boom, boom, and then that armbar you're talking about, like, boom, and I was like, oh shit, okay.
Yeah, he just.
Well, at least I know that's his move now. So we go again, boom, same submission. I'm like, gee, I think like 3 times. I was like, wow,
yeah,
he's good at getting your base off. So then your arms start to come away from your body, and he was.
Oh yeah,
I got tapped out at least twice. I think probably 3 times in one session with.
He's good at destabilizing you. He'll just like kind of shake you with the grip and stuff.
Yeah.
He's a smart grappler. I don't think he's ever been submitted in competition ever.
Did you see it the SF Open, like probably 2010 or something like that? He like flying triangled. It was the one at Kizar.
Yeah, that's his move.
That's his other. We shouldn't be giving away all of his secrets, right?
No, he did it to one of the AK Sunnyvale guys when One World, and when he was
like your in-house tournament thing you guys do.
The one over Guerrilla Jiu-Jitsu San Jose. They had the Champs League or Guerrilla Grand Prix. One of the ones Dave Camarillo and Matt Darcy put on. And
right.
One of our guys was playing seated guard, but he was like reaching.
That's exactly how he hit the guy, like seated guard.
Yeah, they would go caw. They start calling him the Albatross. I don't know if he likes having that nickname, but
the guy he hit at the SF Open back in the day at the Kizar Pavilion, I remember he had all kinds of patches, like, and that you talk about the transition of jiu-jitsu from old to modern, it was like that NASCAR patch kind of.
Oh yeah.
And
sticker charge like the
I
Hondas.
think the guy was from Vegas, like Carlson Gracie Vegas or something. Like he made himself look important, and I'm sure his jiu-jitsu was super good, but they were going at it the whole time, and the guy's guard was super good, and Jake was patient. I mean, it was probably 5 minutes of the guy playing seated guard or something, even longer, and when the opening was there, boom. And I remember the guy was shocked, like his whole team was shocked, like who is this guy who just flying triangled our like poster child,
Yeah, he poster child he literally just attacked him like nuts first.
Yeah.
Like, jumps at you like it's like a leprechaun jump, and all of a sudden you're in a deep triangle because he's not the tallest guy in the world, like spoiler. But the problem is when you got a guy that doesn't have very long legs, but they're good at triangles, it's fast.
Yeah.
Like once they wrap you up, it's like, oh no. That's like Flavio from Kyotera Association.
Oh,
Flavio Meyer.
Mm-hmm.
Flavio Meyer.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
When he wraps a triangle up, he's not the tallest guy in the world, but it's just like laser tight. Focus accurate. It's immediately deep and not getting defended.
Yeah,
you have to have already preemptively done all the right things to not be there, because once he wraps his darn legs around you, you're done.
That's it kind of reminds me of Mike Fowler. Have you rolled with him before?
No, I haven't. He's really damn good though.
Yeah. Well, so one of the last 31fifty open mats that I threw like as owner was in Hawaii, and I got to roll with Mike. So I rolled with Mike back when I was a white belt, and he shit on me, and he also beat me up a lot when I was a purple when I rolled with him. But I had gotten a lot better, and but he still tapped me several times, or whatever. But one thing I noticed was how deliberate and precise every movement was. It was like, like how like Japanese chefs, like every movement is not wasted. Like they wipe the knife, cut the shit, whatever. He reminded me of that. Like everything he did was so sharp, like in a different way. Like there's probably guys who are even better than him that don't have that. They're more flowy or whatever. But there was no wasted movement. It's super deliberate and precise and quick, and
it's just
tight.
Years of drilling, like every like, little entry position, just entry drilling. Like, all right, the guy does this, I'm gonna just do this 100 times. It's that grindy stuff that when you're teaching a class, you have to really, push, because it's so easy to get sidetracked and want to entertain the students. and just show like the flashy move of the competition submission of the week.
People don't want to drill.
No,
right?
People just want to roll. They want to just come in and, you know, get their buzz or get their fix, you know.
People, and I'm guilty of it too, but although I'm more down to drill than I think a lot of people, but because the guy, you know, my friend who brought me up initially, he would have us drill a lot. Like we would go through, you know, 2-hour classes and the whole thing was grip fighting and it sucked, right? Mm-hmm. But it made me better. But yeah, people don't, and I guess as an instructor, you have to balance that, right? Because if you come into this recreational jiu-jitsu class and treat it like, okay, we're doing 100 of this and 100 of that, it's going to start to hurt your bottom line. People are not going to.
It's really about the presentation, and I feel like there has to be a balance. There has to be rolling, because otherwise you don't really see the application side of it. But I'll tend to show pieces of a thread, or like, and it'll be leading up to something that will have resistance, but I'll show, okay, we're going to start in this position. Like I'll take, for example, guard retention, like guard pass drill, whatever. If I just say guard pass drill, go, it basically people start in closed guard or some guard system or whatever, right, and then they just try to beat each other up.
Yeah.
But so there's what I'm trying to do is like present it in a way that when you're in this position, the keys to victory are the top person's looking for this, the bottom person's looking for this. So in this sequence, you're going to be, you know, just looking to framing. The guy's going to try to Toriano pass you. You're going to get your hook over, square up, hook over, square up. Do that a few times and pick up the intensity with add resistance. Cool. All right. Well, let's say they got past that. Now they've dropped their level. They're inside by inside your knee and elbow, and they're about to pass. Here's what they can't do, right? You don't want them to flatten you out. You don't want chest to chest. So from here you're going to let them in. You're going to let them get past your leg. Like it happened. We have to now defend ourselves from here. Okay. Let's frame. Let's hip out. Like there's urgency, like, and get your guard back. All right, we'll just try it just like this. I'll show it exactly the sequence. Bottom guy needs to be doing this, focusing on the bridge, focusing on, you know, the frame, the making space, getting your back off the mat, staying, having less friction between you and the floor.
Right.
And then add resistance to that. And then finally, okay, the third set of it is like, okay, you got past your skin to skin now. Now here's how we get out of this. We'll try it with head and arm control. We'll try a couple other positions. We're just drilling this different things of like, okay, how do you actually use your bridge and your frame effectively? I'm like, when we're doing it, you know, guard escape, you know, it's a guard escape. It's not guard throw the dude off of you, because that ain't going to work if you're smaller.
Yeah.
So it's like escape is about moving you. So then we'll just do, okay, let's just drill this low resistance, right? And then we're just going to work on our frame, work on our bridge, get inside, you know, get off your back, blah, 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 create space, the whole deal, right? Then at the end, all right, you're going to start standing in front of your opponent, right? Now we're going to drill it all the way through, you know, with resistance. Like, again, this is what you're trying to do, to accomplish here.
I think you can get those kind of drills into a class, right? The way you're talking about.
I literally just described guard pass drill,
right,
but I broke it down. I gave people deliberate things to do, to work on, because if you get stuck there, you get pissed. It's like you're just going to do whatever. But I'm showing specific techniques, specific system, adding resistance, making it fun, switching it up.
Right.
And
so they're not doing one thing for an hour. They feel like they're doing a ton of different things, but it's achieving the same result, right? The same like muscle patterns, and
it's doing. I think it's like better than just saying guard pass drill, because if you just have people just doing whatever under just fight to fight, sure, they'll get a workout in, and the guys that are better will stay better, and the guys that are working harder, that it'll pay off, sure, but not having these deliberate things to go to, not having these hubs, like places where you know where you are, not having the muscle memory. It's like guard retention should be easy for the guy on the bottom. It should frustrate the top person, right?
Right.
So giving people a plan and like very deliberate, very purposeful things. It's like if we're doing, like people do like the sit up sweep, and the person on the bottom, the upa, bridge and roll you back over. If you just do that back and forth, and it's like, oh, hey, how was your day? And you're just like rolling back and forth, and it's bullshit.
Yeah.
But if you're doing a pass drill or a reversal drill like that, and you make a point to hold the position for 3 seconds, how would you do this real? Okay, the bottom's gonna be trying to get you the freak off of them, right?
Right.
So there's levels to everything, but like you have to pick up resistance And if you drill deliberately, you'll have way better results. Whether it's a positional thing, whether it's just a transition you're drilling, or whether it's, just something with resistance, like all right, you get stuck here a lot. Guys get leg drag on you. What do you do? All right, well, there's different levels. If they're further along, if they drag like this, like having those resistance drills, but built in, like where you increase the resistance gradually and increase difficulty gradually, like no one's going to just get lost. Like you both have a purpose. Like the bottom guy and top guy, you're not just like dead weight for each other. Like you both have a job, and that way you can drill. It's still engaging. It's still fun. There's a teachable thing. And if you see an obvious deficiency, like that's a pattern throughout the whole class, that can be a follow-up class, right? So it's
that's good. I feel like I haven't worked enough guard retention in my jiu-jitsu career.
We can all name 10, 15 things we haven't done enough, right? It's like
I feel like who's known for open guard, like true open guard from the Bay Area?
Kyle.
Mm-hmm. So that's interesting. I don't think so.
Really?
I think Kyle is a half guard guy. If like his style of guard, open guard, like his knees are typically together like this, right? All of the weird little stuff he does is a variation of a half guard. And I was talking with and I don't mean disrespect to Kyle. He's obviously one of the best to ever do it, but I was talking with this guy from Tennessee, Jeremy Aiken, at Brentwood Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I think they call it Perfectus now. Okay. And he's in Tennessee, he has a little southern accent. But he's a jiu-jitsu like genius. He studied it for decades. He's an amazing instructor, and we were talking about that, and because they have a lot of emphasis on open guard at their academy, and I was like, I can't think of like people in the Bay Area who are super open guard either way, like the way he is and his students are, and I was like, well, maybe Kyle, and he was like, yeah, Kyle's more half guardy. Even Mendez brothers, and I don't know. I want to make sure I don't like put any words in his mouth, because he's just a fan of jiu-jitsu and he loves all those people, right? But he's like, even like the Mendez brothers, like De La Riva, your knees are typically closer to each other, whereas like in spider guard, you're like this, right? He's like, so, and he was like, in my mind, when I say open guard, I'm thinking about people who are good at spider, like you're truly open. And so Kyle, like, if you watch Kyle's stuff, like a lot of half guard, right?
Oh, then Lindsay Archangel.
Lindsay?
Yeah.
Lindsay.
He's got a good lasso guard.
Lindsay plays at knees closed, though.
Does he?
Yeah, he lays down. And Lindsay's a good friend. Like, my kids stay at his house. I watch his kids, like, both from Hawaii, whatever. Like, Lindsay's a good friend of mine. Lindsay has the weirdest lasso. And so, usually when you get the lasso, you open this knee, right?
Yeah.
Lindsay can let this knee drop. It has a whole system. And so even I remember I was telling this brown belt, because Lindsay was going to come back to our academy a few weeks back, or a couple months ago, and we were talking about Lindsay's game. And I was like, yeah, it's weird, man. He does this and he closes his knees. And he was like, the brown belt couldn't understand. He's like, you don't close your knees there. You get smashed if you do. And I was like, yeah, you generally do, but Lindsay's weird, like has a weird game, Ninja lasso Lindsay. I'm sure he'll love us talking about it.
Right on. He's I just saw his Facebook thing. He's opening a spot in Washington or something.
Washington, yeah, like
Lindsay Archangel Jiu-Jitsu. I'm like, yeah, of course it's the same.
Soul Fighters, the whole
that's cool.
Bay Area wave. Yeah, but I heard Carlos Sapal. I've heard stories of his guard hasn't been passed since like the early 90s or something crazy like that. His open guard's probably pretty good.
He's in Vegas now, though, right?
Is he?
I think so. Well, I thought he was.
But no one comes to mind like a super open guard kind of specialist from the Bay Area that I can think of.
Kaio's got like a lot of De La Riva he does. He's like even like Nogi kind of De La Riva is pretty good.
Yeah. Tanner. But Tanner's,
that's
Tanner's up in Redding,
That's far.
That might be the best open guard in Northern California.
Could be. I'm thinking of guys that do have good like spider guard.
There's probably a lot of people, so sorry, I don't know everyone.
Like a lot of these guys,
disrespect.
Like, they're known as more like top players, though. That even the ones that do have pretty good spider guard or pretty good open guard.
Because the roots of, if you think about like the roots of jiu-jitsu here, like Half, that whole wave, Caesar, like Like I just think maybe their style didn't develop.
Like kind of the when, right? Because
the age of jiu-jitsu, the age.
Half guard was like the hot thing kind of in the early, probably 2000s when those gyms are really like popping up and popping up.
Right.
Kyle's got a, he's got a lot.
Not
of
to say Kyle
there.
can't. I'm sure Kyle could probably shit on just about everyone in the world with his spider guard, but so like at his like if he's fighting Bruno or something like that, it's like a half guarded De La Riva kind of. Even though you're open, like it's not like knees open, like you know what I mean. So, I didn't really understand that until I had that conversation with this other, really smart black belt, and he was explaining why half guard and De La Riva can be somewhat similar, and spider is a little different, and he could probably do it a lot better justice than me, But
it's well, if you think of reverse De La Riva and half guard, they're the same position. Right?
Yeah,
it's just like most half guard guys. I'm not saying like the top guys, but just a lot of lower belts, even black belts, like their half guard is more arms than legs. And I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm not saying it's like, I'm not saying it's wrong. You know what I mean?
Their half guard is more arms than legs.
Half guard should be more legs. Half guard like should be like 70% legs.
You're saying they're like not knee shielding enough and like blocking that hip, or what are you?
I'm saying their knee shield's fine, but their bottom foot's usually just drop. They're doing nothing.
I see.
And like that bottom leg can be a very like, that's the hook you really want to worry about. It's like if I'm playing half guard, whether I am able to get in and lasso or not, if I'm able to lasso and open my knee out, great. But if I'm able to open my knee out from there, if we're still ground or we're up, that bottom foot can be either hook that's on the calf or on the inside of the thigh. And I can use that to sweep as long as I win the hand fight on the top hand.
Right.
Like not the underhook side, but the other hand.
Yeah.
The person that wins that hand fight generally is going to win that position.
My bottom hand, if I'm like this hand.
Yeah, so if
my right hand,
this hand, like the one that would be like the underhook, I'm trying to like manage like level the level and to some degree distance. Yeah. But it's going to be the bottom. Yeah, like you said, the bottom hand. That's going to be the one that's going to stop like either.
That, like when Hodger tapped Buchecha, it all came off of that grip, right?
That is.
Like he got that far side grip, and then minutes later, the tap came, right?
Yeah, that in. Whether it's reverse De La Riva or half guard, that bottom grip is going to dictate the position. Whether it's a long step pass, you need to grab something. You need an anchor grip. You need either a sleeve, you need a collar, you need a lapel, a belt, you need something. And even if it's a smash pass, if that hand ain't working, if that hand isn't able to connect to get a dominant grip, you're not going to pass.
That's interesting. I'm probably guilty of that too. Like the lower side of my body just kind of not being as active and
there's the crossface. Like guys will be good about like playing sticky paw on the bicep,
right?
But you'll have a good top half guard player that's just able to get a hold of that bottom grip and win. And then that's where any of the passes come from. Like I'm really just trying to manage distance, and if someone's standing up, I want to make sure my bottom hook is doing its job, because if they just stand right up and I'm not on a collar or a clinch or something, I'm not managing the up and down, the distance, like from near to far, like right. I'm trying to think of it as like, instead of not the up to down, like the near to far distance, like that's going to be way harder to manage. Yeah. So I want to make sure like I'm able to sort of look at it in levels, right? Because if they stand right up and I don't have my grips, I don't have my hooks where they should be, it can be a bastard to get yourself back in order. So you should be able to articulate through the different guards, and you should, if they're trying to smash you,
that's being a bigger guy and being, my jiu-jitsu came from an earlier generation, I guess. I like when people come in and try to smash. That's where I have my most success.
Oh yeah.
I remember when like leg dragging and all that started to really get popular, and John from Kawaii Kimonos, now he owns I think BJJ Inc. But he came, and it was like a little friendly rivalry. We both had brands, and he came and trained with us, and we did pretty well with each other. But he was passing my guard, and it was because he had been training at Atos like the months prior, and I was like, "Why are you so far away from me when you're passing my guard?" And not just like Toriando, but just like in that mid to outside range and manipulating my and it really threw me off. And he's like, yeah, man, I've been training at Atos for like the last couple months and and yeah, that I have a harder time because you have to really really go with your open guard and transition from guard to guard. Whereas if someone comes in, drops, knee cut pass, like, okay, that's what I like to do. I'm comfortable with that, I like to feel that pressure.
This is where like your hip movement on the bottom comes in handy, like doing those like side to side hip escapes where you can kind of go in circles, like because if they're keeping a distance from you, that means you have to either attach to the floor or attach to their body to engage some kind of guard.
Right.
And if they're keeping that perimeter, that's deliberate. So as soon as you reach out, that first hook, you're already like that's the first step to their pass.
Right.
Like that distance is deliberate. So
yeah, you see, like sometimes if Hoffa's like playing with someone, he looks like he's just casually like walking through a messy room or something when he passes someone's guard, right? He's just like, step here.
Dirty underwear, gotta step over.
Yeah.
Just super smooth about it too.
I kind of like Guy's game more because it just seems like more something I could do. Hoffa's game just looks like more.
It's just butter, man. Just butter.
Just he's just like, yeah. Guy gets his grips, I think. Like Guy Mendez kind of gets grips, goes through guards a little more, whereas Hoffa, like, he's like a ghost. Like when I was rolling with him, I would shrimp, and I'd be like, "Wait, where is he?" And I shrimp this way. Where'd he go?
Yeah.
Yeah. Another guy you were talking earlier about. You're saying someone was just chatting with you after who was it? You said like some famous person just like chatting.
Eddie Bravo.
Oh, Eddie, yeah. Kishino, one of our local Bay Area black belts. We had an open mat, 31fifty open mat, and he came and I watched him for like an hour go over like lapel game with white belts. He just loved jiu-jitsu and wanted to talk about it. It was, and they weren't like, would be champion later white belts. They were just run of the mill white belts, and he was just like, yeah, I love talking about it. He just.
That guy's students love him. He's a
super cool guy.
What's it called? Aries now. They all used to be CTA. Now that's Aries Jiu-Jitsu, like him and Samir Shanshi.
Yeah.
And a couple other guys. Milton Bastos, right?
Right.
They're super cool guys. Keishino's the nicest guy. I've seen him like sick as a dog at a tournament. Literally, like he would.
He had like a Michael Jordan flu game.
Yeah. They got what were those? The Jordan, was it the ones flu game, the 11s?
I don't know. He was he like sick and tore through everyone?
They were Jordan 12s, and he had the flu, like some 100-something fever, and they made it's a shoe now you can buy. It's called the Jordan Flu Games.
Oh yeah.
And they're the sneakers he was wearing when he had the flu.
That's one thing about, even though I owned a clothing brand or like lifestyle brand, I'm not stylish. I don't know about these things.
I was like, I couldn't have any like Jordans or any kind of cool sneakers when I was a kid. So
yeah, and I got one per year, one pair of shoes.
As an adult, yeah, I did, but they weren't Jordans. I promise. Yeah. My family were like supposed to be Celtics fans or something. There was no Larry Bird shoe.
No, Larry Bird had shoes at like Kmart later, I think.
Yeah,
because I think I had some.
they were like the what were they, like Converse something? They're probably like the Converse All-Stars, or like
the Converse are cool now.
Ruse, when we were kangaroos back in the day, they're Ruse.
Well, you said Kishino was sick. You saw him sick as a dog.
He was out there like doing the San Jose Open, and he was just beating people. He'd go, he'd compete, he'd win a match. Came up, he was probably 10 feet away from me. He picked up the garbage can from under where you weigh in at, goes blah, just like purges, just vomits because he's clearly very sick, and then he goes and like continues winning, and like I think he got double gold that day.
Wow.
Because he doesn't just
Kishino flu tournament.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't just like go and do a match and then sit there or lay there dead between matches. He goes and jogs to keep his heart up.
Oh, okay.
The guy's hardcore.
He's a really cool guy. I like him. Uriah Faber too. I was at a jiu-jitsu tournament, and we started chatting, and then people are trying to get pictures with him, autographs, it's just like crazy. And he just like, I gave him his space, because I was like, UFC star or whatever. I gave him his space, and then he just kept chatting with me like, oh, so tell me about the brand. And cool. Just super down to earth. He's like a super down to earth, cool guy too.
I'll see him sometimes at the tournaments, like in like either Concord or was it Sacramento?
Yeah.
I saw him at a couple like fight to win events, just out there hanging out with his guys, coaching his guys.
Yeah.
Then that whole scrap pack kind of Gilbert Melendez and Jake Shields, like those guys, you see him at tournaments all the time. Like Nate Diaz.
I saw Nate. I don't know if it was Nate or Nick went against. Was it Sean Nick Murad at one of the like Caesar? Because you know how you guys have like your in-house tournament.
Yeah,
the Caesar Gracie crew has like their tournament too. And Manny was going against someone, and one of the Diaz brothers had like a super fight too, and they didn't win. And I feel like the other guy, maybe it was Sean, but I feel like people were kind of like definitely had respect for him. You're like you didn't want to like brag too much that you won. You're like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that whole team is just really good, man. Like you say, there's levels. Last night, Jake Shields went against Ron Kessler.
Oh yeah,
that was the main event of Fight to Win, and it was too late at night for me. But I know Jake got the win, and
right on.
I mean, Ron's a very tough human being, but
yeah.
I have trained with Jake Shields. Like I got dragged in. They needed bodies for him for he was doing a Submission Underground event like a year or so ago, and yeah, I worked with him, just rolled with him when he was getting ready for competition, and it was that guy's a beast.
I'm sure
he's a monster. He's very, very strong, very, very good.
I'm sure. I saw a video of Jake Shields in the middle of like some Berkeley protest riots or something, like some Antifa or something, and these guys with like masks across the lower part of their face and whatever, like arguing with him, and he's like, the person just wants to speak. It might have been like Milo Yiannopoulos or something like that. Like they just want to speak. What, people can't speak in America? He was saying something like that, and the guys were getting all nuts with him. I'm like, I hope they know who this guy is. Like, I hope that they don't think that they're going to do something to this individual, because it's going to be a bad day.
Nah, those guys don't hurt you fighting you. Those guys hurt you putting you on camera and trying to tell stories. And
no, but he kept his composure, and you could tell he was like intellectual, and
yeah, he's
and
for as like savage as he is on the mat or in the cage or whatever, really cool guy. Very, very well spoken, very articulate. I think. Well, I know he's obviously out on the West Coast. He's been training out here for years, but he's been doing stuff with Danaher over at Penzo's in New York.
Ooh.
And so he's got leg locks now, confirmed.
So I've been out of the game. I haven't been training and immersed in the scene like I was. But Gordon Ryan's like destroying everyone, right? Sure is.
He's a very outspoken guy, very flamboyant in terms of just him and Gary Toner are similar in that regard. They're all over social media, and just,
Gary's like playful with it though, right?
They're both.
Sometimes he can get aggressive too.
Yeah, they both have their thing. It's
their own,
whatever.
Their own thing. Yeah.
My hometown is like I think one town over from where Gary Toner and those guys are from.
Oh, okay.
Tom's River, New Jersey. Like Frankie Edgar's from out there.
Fe.
But with Gordon Ryan, the big thing, was, is he going to fight Kaio Terra for some reason? Like they were talking about that. Like, honestly, if it's Nogi,
Kaio's good with like interweaving legs with you and that sort of. He might do okay, right? In situation,
he could win in a gi. In no gi, and I'm not trying to say it to like diminish anything. All I'm saying is like, this guy's younger. He's really, really good. He's strong as shit. He's in like the peak of his grappling career.
Right.
I don't think a no-gi match would do Kaio Terra any favors.
That's so hard to get. So I saw Gordon Ryan trying to get Andre Galvao to fight him, right?
Yeah, he was trying to put money.
Why does everyone use Andre as like a?
Because it's late in Andre's career.
Yeah.
And it's going to look amazing on your record if you're able to put down like a physical specimen / one of the greatest competitors ever.
Yeah, I mean, he is, but there's other people. Well, for one, I was going to say, why not like call out Marcelo? Like, that's your hood. He's another legend. Why don't you go for that? But Andre, I guess, is still more prominent in the face of it. Like
Marcelo, I mean, I know he rolls, but does he still compete?
I don't care. Like you said earlier, it doesn't matter.
It's still Marcelo's. but the size difference, and I don't know. I think you look at somebody like Andre Galvao, and he looks like very formidable, looks like very intimidating looking guy. He's pretty much feared.
Yeah.
And then he has wins over guys like Cyborg and even Yuri now, which is crazy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Yuri Simoes, he has I think 2 wins now over him.
Wow.
Which is it's pretty incredible because that guy's a monster too.
Yeah, yeah.
Very cool guy. Very cool guy.
You talk about like people who don't get enough credit. Lucas Lepre.
Yeah.
Like maybe it's because the jiu-jitsu scene so much West Coast and Alliance or Alliance, however you say it, is like Atlanta based, and I don't know. But if you look at I think the biggest super fight for like jiu-jitsu nerds would be Hoffa against Lucas. One of the biggest.
It would.
That would be a, I don't know, but I feel like Lucas like silently wins world championships year after year.
Silently,
right? Like no one talks about that, right?
Lots of people do. For something to be, to get noticed, there's got to be like a loud factor to it nowadays. Like everything's just like sensory overload.
Yeah.
So you see somebody like Mike Musumeci, he wins worlds, and you notice because he's like a different cat.
Right.
Like you just look at him and you're like, seriously? And then he just shits on people. He just barely gets his black belt and he's like, yeah, world champion.
Right.
You know what I mean? So people notice that, but then some of the legends that are out there, it's that they've already made their name and they're just kind of there now. I mean, and if they're humble and
I guess if an American wins worlds, it's kind of a big deal, right? Because they don't black belt worlds.
It'll be less of one eventually.
Yeah, it's becoming less and less. It's becoming more and more common. But
the more like economically feasible it is for people to actually spend all their time training and getting good,
and the more the amount of sports that the talent pool spread out with so many sports in America, right? But if you take like, I don't know, like Zion, like LeBron James is of sports, and if they decide they fall in love with jiu-jitsu, then you're gonna have more and more American world champions, right?
It's gonna happen when the money's there.
Yeah.
I mean, really, what's the
incentive?
Yeah, it's not taught in schools. If you go to jiu-jitsu school, it's like a boutique martial art. It's like $200 a month for serious training at a good place. And you guys can correct me and say it's only $99 at my place, but that's great. And if you have world champions there, that's even better. Post that up. Well,
this is the Bay Area too, right? I mean,
jiu-jitsu is pretty expensive all over.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it is. And you can't do it in the Olympics. There's no universities. Judo is almost every school and every university.
But do you think jiu-jitsu should be in the Olympics?
I wouldn't see why not.
Well, for one, I think Brazil just destroys. Cool. The results are sort of, what's going to happen. It's like a foregone conclusion. But jiu-jitsu is kind of boring if you're not a jiu-jitsu guy or girl. Even if you are, sometimes it's boring.
What's that sport called? Curling, where you take a broom and ice and move a ball.
That's true.
That's an Olympic sport.
Point well made.
So if sweeping ice is and the friction emitted somehow from the heat coming off of the ice to move a thing is an Olympic sport, then I'm pretty sure this thing where people are trying to kill each other with chokes fits. There's some they were trying to drop some wrestling from the Olympics, and I'm like, if you don't have
that's ridiculous.
Don't have wrestling in the Olympics.
That's how the Olympics started, right?
It's not the goddamn Olympics. It's the oldest sport. It's
the
most primal thing you can do.
Yeah, that's stupid.
So I mean, we had the dream team. All the NBA players in '96 were allowed to play basketball,
and we still have basketball, right?
We shit on the world, and but eventually the other countries caught up, and you don't have as many pros, and it's whatever. So Brazil should do good. Japan should do good. Russia should do very good.
When you talk about ADCC too, one of the things about ADCC is you get these regional like monsters from Iran, Azerbaijan, like these countries that wrestling is their life, and they do a little jiu-jitsu, become blue, purple belts, whatever, and then they start they go to ADCC, and people have to deal with that. You know, like Khabibs, you get Khabibs at ADCC versus like they don't come out here for Worlds or whatever.
Exactly. You have, I mean, it's the more of it you have in the mainstream, the more of it you have, Olympics, for example, or just more of these big companies are getting behind athletes and stuff, more brands that are subscribing to it, just popularity. You're gonna have growth. The level's gonna get higher faster, and you're gonna see more crossover with other grappling sports. But again, it has to be economically feasible if it's gonna be someone's life path, because otherwise it's just,
especially how like I talked about how beat up my body is. 2 torn shoulders, on my 3rd knee surgery soon. If you're gonna sacrifice that for no money, it just doesn't make sense, right? If you could be good at something else.
Passion's passion,
but so many jiu-jitsu fighters go to MMA, I think, for that reason, right?
Yeah.
Like what Hodger and all these people go to MMA just for personal satisfaction if they could make the same money doing jiu-jitsu.
I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that if they're really interested in the stardom or the fame or the big payday, it's MMA is the path right now.
Right.
There's only room for like one Hanato Laranja. So you can't, you know what I mean? Like, there's probably not going to be very many jiu-jitsu comedians or actors that are going to cross over. So you might as well go do the thing that pays.
I think the Mendez brothers, well, I pretty know they make a lot of money. If you have an online subscription service, it's all about how you can like compound your time, right? So they're able to have such a big reach with the system they have set up, and their brand is so strong. But but like the Lucas Laprise of the world, I mean, he doesn't have an AOJ. He doesn't have that. I think he's sponsored by Shoyoroll now, but he previously didn't have like big brand backing.
But, I mean, for a name like Lucas and everything he's done in the sport, some gear, and what are they going to give him? 5 figures, like low 5 figures a year to wear the stuff. Yeah. But it's
seminars is where they make their money, doing seminars.
Just being active, with the Mendez brothers, their product is, they're superstars in the sport.
Yeah.
They are the product. It's the content they generate. It's the school. It's the uniforms and the private lessons and the probably, seminars they do all over the place. It's all of those things. And
they're unique too. So
the best marketing business card, their calling card is that they're superstars.
Yeah. But they're also unique, and they're unique in their, obviously in their jiu-jitsu, but in their work ethic and their business mind as businessmen, they're unique. I sort of had that conversation with Bear from Shoyoroll, and it's very rare to find that all in one package.
And there's prolific in the actual business, in the actual sport, and that they're able to monetize it, and they have such a good business acumen. Yeah, you don't see it. You'll have lots of guys that are great at their job, but like actually going off on their own and being able to package it up as a product and selling it. Yeah, that's a whole other monster.
And they have good partnerships, but still, you can't sustain and be that brand. They run their seminars very professionally. Like they're unique. They're a very unique situation. And the bottom line is their jiu-jitsu is cool to watch, especially Hafa. Oh, yeah. Talk about jiu-jitsu being boring. Not when you're watching him,
Yeah, he's upside down. He's doing all kinds of stuff. It's like trying to figure out a math problem, seeing what he just did half the time. You're like, what?
Sometimes I'll rewind back and like, wait, how did that transition go? Like, how did he get to the back from wherever, from the parking lot? Like, that guy's crazy.
Yeah, I think I subscribed to his thing for a month or something. I didn't have time to spend in front of the computer looking at jiu-jitsu, but he had some sort of technique, and I thought it was pretty cool. And there was like a month where I had it, and I'm like, I'm not going to use this.
Yeah,
and it's probably silly of me not using it, but I can't spend a lot of time in front of the computer. It's like if I'm not working, then
right.
I just didn't have time to sit there and watch jiu-jitsu videos, and it's
Marcelo had his. I don't know if his is doing as well these days, but his subscription thing was pretty popular back then when that whole thing was blowing up.
Yeah, that thing was just on all the time though. You could just, if you came in to roll with him, like I remember seeing the one where like Gabby Garcia went in there and he's like rolling with Gabby Garcia. He's like the size difference is crazy. Like
that's the thing too, right? Like, do you see? I think it was Hoffa and Jake Shields. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're, I like that guys like Jake Shields are like, cool, whatever, you know, let's just train. It's, you know. But if you're a big name, you know, if you're, I don't know, if you're a big name and you go into those academy and they're like, hey, camera's rolling, FYI, it's like you're exposing yourself to go roll at Hoffa on camera, you know. Yep.
It's you know, you're a world champion, so how you're perceived is important, right?
Yeah.
Especially, you know, some of these guys are undefeated or, you know, whatever. There's like an image, there's like an aura that comes with that. So you don't want to.
I've had hard times getting people together. Like the whole 31fifty open mat thing. People close to me like, hey, let's go and let's, you know, come and train, or I'm going to set up some sessions. I know some guys who would be good for training with you or whatever. And a lot of people don't want to do it. Like, oh, Clint? No, there's no, like, they won't come out and say it, but they're like, I don't want any of that, you know. I don't want to train with that person, or I don't want them knowing our moves still, or whatever, you know. Like, it's hard to get, you know. But people go like Jake went and rolled with Hoffa, and you know, didn't make him look like the best in the world, but you know, Jake is among the best in the world, you know.
Yeah, it's just, you know, stylistically, you always kind of wonder how this person would do with that person, and yeah, it's just interesting. It's compelling stuff to watch. So, you know, subscribe just for that, I guess. But I'm sure people do. I just I wish I had more time to actually like watch stuff like that. If I did have more time to just watch jiu-jitsu, I'd probably be looking at more flow grappling stuff, more of the flow wrestling stuff, because you get to see how it looks live, you know, what happens under pressure when you try these different moves, and, you know, seeing a technique video from a willing opponent or like a complicit partner
is different, right?
Yeah, it's way different than, hey, this guy is like, he's trying to, you know, beat me up, and what's the thing? What do you do? Okay, well, does that move actually work? Or
I think that's part of the Mendez brothers brand too, is a lot of the stuff that they sell, like especially when they were first building that program, there would be clips of, hey, I did this on my way to my 4th world title, my 5th world title, and the quarterfinals, or like on good people, you know.
That's how a lot of the seminars I've seen lately. Wolf Barnato, I think he did really well at one of the big tournaments a couple of years ago, and he came and did a seminar at One World. And
I think I saw that actually.
He was showing like this multiple move, you know, sequence that was probably a little bit advanced for a lot of the guys there. Just it was quite a few like white belts and stuff that were, again, white belts are people, but when you're at like a black belt, like damn near world champion at the time, you know, showing the sequence with a bunch of different transitions, it's like,
so he was showing like a system, like a,
it was several moves, like, and it was stuff that I use this in match blah 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 at this tournament in LA or something, and whatever, some big IBJJF tournament where he had a lot of success, and it was like, it was really cool stuff. But I was thinking like this should have been like a workshop that was like 2 days, where it was like, you know, maybe a little bit smaller group.
What's the best seminar you ever been to?
Oh, let's see.
I would have to say, for me, Mendez Brothers, I've only been to a few, but Mendez Brothers and Mike Fowler. Like, Mike is a really good teacher. The drills he showed to link to his, have you ever seen his unstoppable sweep? Mm-mm. It's a weird sweep, like, but I can show it to you after this, but it just all made sense. Everyone really liked the seminar, you know. It was either Mike or the Mendez Brothers.
I'd say for me, it's either, they're kind of like all over the place answers. Either Jean-Jacques Machado, Leo Vieira, or Eric Paulson.
Huh. Interesting. Those are different.
Mm-hmm. Eric's was like almost 3 or 4 hours, and it was really cool. Anything that Jean-Jacques does is I'm all on board. I love the guy's jiu-jitsu. He's a great guy all overall.
So was the jiu-jitsu super effective and the instruction great, or are you a little like starstruck with it?
No.
I'm not accusing. The reason why I asked that, I told you about my friend Jeremy Aiken in Tennessee.
Yeah.
One of the best jiu-jitsu minds I know. we were talking about that, and for some reason, like Hickson came up. He went to a Hickson seminar, and he was thinking the same, like, oh, it can't be that magical, but he was like, man, Hickson showed some little details that you couldn't believe how big of a difference they made. And I think he said like Ryan Hall was at that seminar. There's like some big names like earlier in their career were at that seminar. And he was like, oh, who thinks they have, good posture or whatever. So, okay, stand here. And he would just like very easily destroy people in specific positions that these high level people thought that they had down. And so, whereas I was, I agreed. I was like, it can't be that magical, right? And he was like, yeah, I thought the same, man, until I went to the Hickson seminar, and it was true. Like, all of the hype is true.
The level of detail that Jean-Jacques can explain on anything in jiu-jitsu is like kind of staggering.
Yeah.
And just in terms of like level of instruction and just teaching style, and just like he's like one of these just like people you just want to be around. He just has like that like mentor thing going. He's cool.
Yeah.
I've trained at his school like plenty of times now. He's done, I think, a couple seminars I've been to.
What does he have all the famous people train with? How does that work?
It started with they were one of the first families in the United States doing jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah.
So they were running their jiu-jitsu place, I think, out of their garage or something back in the day,
like in the early 90s or something.
Like
yeah,
93 or 90, something like that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And guys would come over in LA because that's where they lived, and they'd pay for privates, and like word of mouth got out to Chuck Norris.
Yeah,
So
he was the first like famous name.
He like showed up at their front door like, hey, I heard you guys do this jiu-jitsu thing. Can you teach me? And they started teaching Chuck Norris. And Chuck Norris one day, like after training with him for like a number of months or maybe years, like I could be abridging the story a bit. He showed up at their house and he's like, hey, your new gym's over here. Come with me.
Really?
Like, yeah, he owned some strip mall, I guess, in like the Tarzana area.
Wow.
He's like, this is here's your first academy, and like that was the first Machado Academy. And then I guess a bit of time passed of running that, and Walker Texas Ranger started. He's
Walker.
Like,
I remember he kicked a helicopter out of the air on that show one time.
That's awesome. So all the Machado brothers, like that, they were all on an episode of that, or maybe more than one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know at least one for sure I've seen. So what happened is like he was moving to Texas to film the show, and he's like, yeah, but I don't want to stop training. So like, which of you guys is coming?
Wow.
So like he moved them with him to Texas, and like, so that's why you still have Carlo and like Jean Machado. I think Carlos, is it Carlos or is it he? I don't know.
The Texas school.
Yeah, they're out in Texas now. There's like a couple of them.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's where Al Bundy has his black belt too, right? That's where he trained with Machado's. I forget his real name.
Ed O'Neill. No, he was a Horian guy. He was a Gracie Academy guy.
Oh, he's a Gracie Academy guy.
That gym is like, in terms of a gym being ran like a business, like a real business. Even the old Gracie Academy in Torrance was, but this new one's beautiful.
So I don't know. I was never a huge fan of that academy and the like Gracie breakdowns or whatever, I'll be honest. And then I was in San Jose at the Fitness Expo when was it at the Fitness Expo and Andre Goval and no. What's the older brother's name? Halleck and
Huron.
Huron came to they did like Gracie Worlds or something, and I saw him like shit on a bunch of people. Like he was super good.
Yeah,
he tore really through everyone. And then it was the Copopodi or whatever event, Metamoris, that Andre Goval and him went, and he frustrated Andre and like solidified respect for, I feel like, for a lot of people in that event.
Yeah, Huron's tough, man. He's a big dude too. He's like 6'4", 6'5", or something crazy.
You know what it is? They do video, like you can get an online blue belt, right? Isn't that weird?
I think so. Like, I don't know if you still can. I know you could.
You could, right? So that's when I was like,
there was a minute where that was a thing, and like, even
and I couldn't understand that. Like, but who am I? Like, he would destroy me. their family is the family. Like, trust me, I get it. But as a, typical Joe Schmo jiu-jitsu guy, I couldn't understand. I thought jiu-jitsu was all about like that one martial art where it's the belts are legit, right? Like you don't just get belts handed out and then you could get an online belt. Like, I didn't understand that.
What I do know, the online thing as a grading system is weird. Like, I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. What I do know is in terms of like running a business and teaching a lot of people jiu-jitsu at once. Yeah. Like, good energy too. Like him and his wife's legit famous, like celebrity famous. Not just, really? Yeah, he married Eve Torres. It's like a Maxim cover girl. But then she was a WWE champion.
Oh, wow.
And then she's on like the current season of Supergirl as like a villain or something or whatever. So like she's on her own. She has her own star power more than Henner. Yeah. So those two together, they teach the women's class. You'll see 100 women on the mat at the same time. Like, that's cool. That's a regular day there. It's a huge gym. The lockers have USB plugs in the individual lockers. Really? Yeah, it's like, think of like a really nice health spa gym bathroom, locker room. It's like that. You can
Brian Ortega trains there too, right?
Yeah.
And there's a few other like killers who come. I mean, yeah. At this point, I am a fan and I have a ton of respect for what they do. But I was, back in the day, I was very confused about their whole system and the way that they, spread jiu-jitsu. But like I said, who am I? I'm nobody.
I thought the online thing was a little kind of questionable for belts initially, but I don't know. I've been out there to train a couple times and like I've had Henner on the show and like
really?
Yeah, like
right on.
Had Henner, Eve, Hoist has been on, had Jean Jacques on, like all these like different like legend people I've spent some time with, and like you really see how much time they put in and like all the different lessons they've learned. So like in terms of like running a gym, like you look at how like of a well polished machine it is, and it's like, yeah, they're making money, yeah, they're monetizing jiu-jitsu, yeah,
they should be. I think those guys should be rich. I hope they all are. Yeah,
the Henner.
I don't hate on nobody. I don't hate on those guys for that. There's like a homeless guy outside yelling.
Like Rock is out of the academy last night. There's like a wino or something.
But that's cool. I mean, I thought it was super cool, and they actually when he started competing at the Gracie Worlds and Metamoris and stuff, we talked about the jiu-jitsu, the whole growth of, as a person and in jiu-jitsu, and that was sort of humbling watching how his style, his self-defense style of jiu-jitsu and was so effective. Like, couldn't do anything to him. Like he was just destroying people, and he's like, yeah, pass my guard. It doesn't mean anything because watch this. Yeah, it was like, which I was, I was sort of brainwashed to think otherwise. So yeah, they helped to give me like a new perspective, for sure, watching that.
They've just been at it for so long. It's like they've already learned these lessons. They've already been in this position 1,000 times. So, whether it's the marketing stuff or the business stuff, it's crazy. Like they all the marketing they're doing now, like back in the day when they were little kids, Horian starting the first UFC, the founder of the UFC like pitched it to Horian, like he was this guy Art Davies, just put him in. He's in the Hall of Fame for the UFC. He was actually the founder. Like he created the thing. Yeah. And he like pitched it to Horian Gracie, and when like Big John McCarthy and everybody was like all training there in Torrance, and like Henner would be, I guess, a little kid, and they'd be like, him and his brother would come in the cage and like clean up between the fights or whatever, like
that's crazy.
Mop the mats or whatever. So he when I talked to Art Davie, he said that Henner was like always very inquisitive, like very interested in like the business side of things, and he'd be like 9 years old and asking all these questions about like marketing, and Art would I think he came from a background of like direct like mail order marketing. Remember BMG Music Club, you'd pay, or Columbia House, you'd pay like 10 cents and get 10 CDs. No. And it was like you'd have
like a subscription service before all this online stuff.
Yep, it was, and then or like he was like did like mail order like for like Discover Card and stuff, like any like mail order based advertising. Like he was like the guy for that, and he wound up getting the Gracie videos out to like a more widespread audience, and like it was like, I guess Horian Gracie didn't trust him with the UFC idea yet, so he's like, well, let's just sell these Gracie in action DVDs or tapes, right?
Right.
And I think like he like netted him like $250,000 in like a matter of a couple months. Like, yeah, okay, what's this UFC idea?
Yeah.
So like then I guess they went and built it. So it's kind of crazy, but like apparently that whole process of like the UFC being built, like Henry Gracie was like enthralled by like all of it and like really into like the marketing part.
Oh, wow.
And now when you talk to him, like even when it's just like a casual conversation, like he's on.
Yeah.
He's talking about jiu-jitsu. Like to him, that's the shit. Like he loves talking about it. He's super stoked about it, everything. Like even when the mic isn't on, he's like, yeah, oh yeah. Like he's all like upbeat and like talking about jiu-jitsu like it's like the greatest thing ever.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen them do some of the like post UFC breakdowns, and I'm like, oh, these guys really, you know what I mean? They're obviously
they know their stuff.
Know their stuff.
Some of it can be a little corny, like the online thing with the online blue belt. I was like, I used to be not a big fan of that either, and I don't know if that's still how it works.
They do some funny stuff too. That like there was some thing that went viral back in like not too long ago where someone got dragged off a plane or something.
Oh yeah.
And then so they're like ways to defend yourself if you're dragged off a plane. And so like they were dragging, you know what I'm talking about? They're dragging each other across the academy.
Oh, it was the doctor that was like he wouldn't give up his seat because they were like trying to voluntarily. They overbooked the flight because they overbook flights all the time. And I remember that video. That's hilarious. All right, man. Well, I've kept you for 2 hours now, man.
Wow. Cool. Thanks for having me.
Dude, it's a pleasure. If anybody wants to find you out there, I mean, I know 31fifty is still doing your thing. Are you still like working with them or just kind of like?
I sold the brand. It's in good hands. So there's some specifics. So you'll see a lot more from the brand, and I like the people who are taking care of it now. Some other guys from Guam.
Cool.
So cool. People probably know who that is. Some of the other Guam like Islander kind of guys, and but no, I'm not really in the jiu-jitsu game anymore. Anyone is welcome to hit me up on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. I'm really just helping my wife with real estate, and we might move back to Hawaii, and I might even do a podcast, or there's a business opportunity. I'm flying out next week to kind of see how it's going, and if that all works out, then I might move back to Hawaii. So, but yeah, you have to come out and train. There's a lot of cool, like interesting gyms out there too.
Oh yeah. Like it's I've been to one gym in Maui.
Maui Jiu-Jitsu? I
think so.
With like Penny Thomas and all those.
John, I'm trying to think of his last name. Super cool, very friendly, but I learned a lot about like Hawaii training there. So I'm like, man, you guys are in paradise, but it was like the guys went like very hard. Oh yeah. So then I'm like, wait a minute, if you live in paradise,
or are you so aggressive?
Oh, that's it. Y'all get bored too, but you're already in paradise. What do y'all have to look forward to? You already live in paradise.
But Hawaii is just like a fighting culture. It's like obviously Max Holloway, BJ Penn, like.
That's the thing. Like,
there's just a ton of Eliminator. There's a. I don't want to start naming names because I'll miss all kinds of people. But yeah, Hawaii's it's very much this is getting worse. I heard that more people use weapons, but it's just very much like a bare knuckles fight kind of. Like two fathers will take their sons to go fight and clear up the drama and shake hands kind of thing.
What I figured out there just by kind of watching, and to mainland people thinking of going to Hawaii, do it. It's awesome. Here's the thing you're not going to get away with. In the mainland, if a homeless guy says something smart ass to you, you say something back, that homeless guy is just going to be like, yeah, whatever, screw you, and walk away. Yeah. In Hawaii, if you mouth off to a homeless person, you're fighting them. Yeah, that guy is going to try to kick your ass and take whatever he asked for to begin with.
You probably shouldn't mouth off to anyone in Hawaii. Not that everyone's badass and whatever, but it's just a different culture. I tell people
they will fight you.
Yeah, everyone's super. So there's a big Eastern influence. So everyone's super respectful. But then the transition from respectful to wanting to fight or being offended it's a very fine line. And I just tell people, pretend like you're going to another country. Like if you were going to Guatemala or Kazakhstan or something, you wouldn't think you could take your customs there and just act the way you want. Treat Hawaii the same way and you'll probably be fine.
Yeah, that's very, very good advice. It's like just mind your manners when you're out there.
Yeah.
They will fight you, and there's more of them there. I promise.
Side story: I was born in Florida, and I seen bad stuff and whatever. And when I first moved to Hawaii, I thought, well, this isn't gonna be as bad as like the ghetto schools I went to in Florida, And like my first day of school, and we're young, this kid was fighting with this Hawaiian kid was fighting with this Filipino kid, and they went in for an exchange, backed up, and the Filipino kid pulled out a knife, and I thought, oh well, it's done, right? And the Hawaiian kid was like, "Bruh, you think I scared of a knife? You find," and then he goes back in and starts like beating up the kid, even though he's holding a knife, like. And so I was like, "Oh wow, this is a different place, huh?" It's like different place. But anyways, man, thanks for having me though.
Man, thanks for being on. It's been a pleasure, and hope everything goes well with this rain out here today. We don't get much of it, but I might be out in Hawaii with you soon.
Yeah,
sooner than later.
Come out.
All right, thanks again. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff.